I just want to say Happy Earth Day! Woo! Happy Earth Day to everyone. Today we're going to read the Lorax, which is a perfectly fun book for Earth Day. Okay, do you remember the three R's before we get started? Reduce, reuse, and recycle. Those are the three R's. Okay, so this book, The Lorax, is by Dr. Seuss. So there should be some fun words and some fun characters. Okay. Ooh. Some of you guys may have seen this book before. Okay. Trying to get my computer right. At the far end of town, where the crickle grass grows, and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing except old crows, is the street of the lifted lorax. I wonder what a lorax is. And deep in the crickle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the lorax once stood just as long as it could before somebody lifted the lorax away. What was the lorax and why was it there? And why was it lifted and taken somewhere? From the far end of town where the crickle grass grows, the old Onceler still lives here. Ask him. He knows. You won't see the Onceler. Don't knock at his door. He stays in his lurkum on top of his store. He lurks in his lurkum, cold under the roof, where he makes his own clothes out of muffled moof. And on special dank midnights in August he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks and tells how the lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you, perhaps, if you're willing to pay. On the end of a rope he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail. And the shell of a great-great-great-grandfather snail. Do you have a shell and a nail and 15 cents? Then he pulls up the pail and makes a most careful count to see if you paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you paid him away in his snoof, his secret strange hole in his grooviest glove. Then he grunts, I will call you by whispermaphone, for the secrets I tell you are for your ears alone. Slurp down slurps the whispermaphone to your ear, and the old Onceler's whispers are not very clear, since they have to come down through a snurgly hose, and he sounds as if he had smallish bees up his nose. Now I'll tell you, he says, with his teeth sounding gray, how the lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long time ago. There's the whispermaphone. It goes in your ear. Way back in the days when the grass was still green and the pond was still wet and the clouds were still clean and the song of the swans rang out in space. One morning I came to this glorious place and I first saw the trees, the truffula trees, the bright-colored tufts on the truffula trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. See the truffula trees and the swans? And under the trees I saw brown barbaloots frisking about in their barbaloot suits, and they played in the shade and ate truffula fruits. From the rippleless pond came the comfortable sound of the humming fish humming while splashing around. Mm-hmm. But those truffula trees, all my life I've been searching for trees such as these. The touch of their tufts was much softer than silk, and they had the sweet smell of fresh butterfly milk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew just what I'd do. I unloaded my cart. In no time at all, I had built a small shop. Then I chopped down a truffalo tree with one chop. And with great skillful skill, and with great speedy speed, I took the soft tuft and I knitted a need. What's a need? The instant I finished, I heard a gazump. I looked, I saw something pop out of the stump of the tree I'd chopped down. It was sort of a man. Describe him? That's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy, and he spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. Mister, he said, with a sawdusty sneeze, I am the lorax, and I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues, and I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs. He was very upset, and he shouted and puffed, What's that thing you've made out of my truffle tuft? So here's the lorax. He is the character that speaks for the trees. Look, Lorax, I said, there's no cause for alarm. I chopped just one tree. I'm doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a need. A need is a fine something that all people need. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat. But it has other uses, yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, or curtains or covers, or bicycle seats. The lorax said, Sir, you are crazy with greed. There is no one on earth who would buy that full need. So there's the need. But the very next minute, I proved he was wrong. For just at that minute, a chap came along, and he thought that the need I was knitted was great. He happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the lorax. You poor silly guy. You never can tell what people will buy. So the lorax thought nobody would buy it, but somebody did. I repeat, cried the lorax, I speak for the trees. I'm busy, I told him. Be quiet, if you please. I rushed across the room and in no time at all built a radio phone. I put in a quick call. I called all my brothers and uncles and aunts, and I said, Listen here, here's a wonderful chance for the whole Onceler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast, take the road to North Nitch, turn left at Weehawken, sharp right at South Stitch. So the Onceler is calling all of his family and friends to come. And in no time at all, in the factory I built, the whole Onceler family was working full tilt. We were all knitting needs, just as busy as bees, to the sound of the chopping of truffle trees. So they built a factory so they could make more of these things out of the trees, and they're chopping down all the trees. How do you think that makes the lorax feel? How do you think he's feeling? Really pretty sad. Then, oh baby, oh, how business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was too slow. So I quickly invented my super axe hacker, which whacked off 4 truffle trees in one smacker. We were making needs 4 times as fast as before. And the lorax, he didn't show up anymore. But the next week he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, I'm the lorax who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloots, who played in the shade in their barbaloot suits and happily lived eating truffula fruits. Now, thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffula fruit to go round, and my poor barbaloots are getting the crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies. So the brown barbaloots used to eat the fruit from the trees, but if there's no more trees, there's no more fruits for the little bears. They loved living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys, he cried, and he sent them away. So they have to go find somewhere else where they can find food. I, the onceler, felt sad as I watched them go, but business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies and tummies, you know. I meant no harm, I most truly did not, but I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. I biggered my factory, I biggered my roads, I biggered my wagons, I biggered the loads. Of the thieves I shipped out, I was shipping them forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering, selling more needs, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Not sure there's going to be many trees left. Then once again he came back. I was fixing some pipes when that old nuisance lorax came back with more gripes. I am the lorax, he coughed and whiffed. He sneezed and he snuffled, he snargled, he sniffed. Onceler, he cried with a coughish croak. Onceler, you're making such smoggy smoke. My poor swami swans, why they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in their throat. So the onceler, his factory got really big, started making all this smoke. So the birds couldn't sing because of all the smoke in the air. And so, said the lorax, please pardon my cough. They cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape from the smog you've smogged up around here. So now all the brown barbaloots had to leave because there's no food, and now all the birds have to leave because there's too much smog in the air. What's more, snapped the lorax, his dander was up, let me say a few words about gluppity glup. Your machinery chugs on day and night without stop, making gluppity glup, also schmoppity schmop. And what do you do with the leftover goo? I'll show you, you dirty old onceler man, you. Where's all that yucky stuff going? You're glumping the pond where the humming fish hummed. No more can they hum, for their gills are all gummed. So I'm sending them off on their future. Oh, their future is dreary. They'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary, and search them some water that isn't so smeary. So now the brown barbaloots had to leave because they didn't have food. The swami swans had to leave because there's too much smoke in the air. And now the fish have to leave because all the goop in their pond, all because the onceler wanted to build a really big factory. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled at the lorax, now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap yap and say bad, bad, bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you, I intend to go on doing just what I do. And for your information, you lorax, I'm figuring on bickering and bickering and bickering, turning more truffle trees into needs, which everyone needs. So the onceler's not going to stop. And at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From outside in the fields came a sickening smack of an axe on a tree. Then we heard the tree fall, the very last truffle tree. No more trees, no more needs, no more work to be done. So in no time my uncles and aunts, everyone, all waved me goodbye. They jumped into my cars and drove away under the smoke smog stars. Now all that was left beneath the bad smelling sky was my big empty factory, the lorax and I. So if there's no more trees, they can't make a need. And now all the animals are gone. The lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance, just gave me a very sad, sad backward glance as he lifted himself by the seat of his pants, and I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he hoisted himself and took leave of this place through a hole in the smog without leaving a trace. So the the lorax left too. And all that the lorax left here in this mess was one small pile of rocks with one word, unless. Whatever that means. Well, I just couldn't guess. That was long, long ago, but each day since that day I've sat here and worried away. Through the years while my buildings have fallen apart, I've worried about it with all of my heart. But now, says the Onceler, now that you're here, the word of the lorax seems perfectly clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So, catch, calls the Onceler. He lets something fall. It's a truffula seed. It's the last one of all. You're in charge of the last of the truffula seeds, and truffula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new truffula, treat it with care, give it clean water, and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest, protect it from axes that hack. Then the lorax and all of his friends may come back. Right, the end. So the lorax is trying to say it's up to us to plant new trees and make sure we have plenty of trees in our world, because trees provide food, they provide shelter, and they provide clean air for everyone. So it's up to us to take care of the earth and make sure that all of our trees don't get whacked down. All right, so I hope you enjoyed the lorax. I hope you enjoy Earth Day. I want you to try to think of a way you can help our earth. Maybe you can go outside and pick up some trash and either put it in the trash can or put it in a recycle bin if it's something recyclable. Maybe think of a way to reuse something instead of throwing it away. Okay, you guys are awesome. Hope you're doing well and hope you enjoyed story time. That's all for now. I'll see you later.